Hello and welcome to Optimal Game State. In my last video, I talked about sticking to a plan. And my idea there was to put together a bunch of the Star Wars Legion models and play through the scenario for Hope Eternal. So I've managed to do that. Today I finished off the last few bits of work I needed to do on some Stormtroopers. And then that went along with some Rebel Cell, Infiltrator Cell. I can't remember what they're called. A bunch of Rebels and Cassian and K2, which obviously I've been a little obsessed with after watching the show. This is part one of two, or this is one of two videos, because I then went ahead and I played through Hope Eternal in Stargrave, and then I also played it in a altered version of Warcry. So for this video, we're going to look at the Stargrave side. I'm going to talk through what I did, how it went. It was a lot of fun, and I'm very, very happy that I've got a bunch of Star Wars models that I can play Stargrave with, which is quite cool. I did make some mistakes when I was playing it. Obviously, it's a solo game. No one really cares. And yeah, I'll talk my way through them as I get into it. This was one of the Stargrave generators. I put together a quick version of this. I probably would tailor around with it if I was going to do it a little more. But Cassian was a rogue, and then K2, I put it together as a cyborg. Technically, you're not supposed to have robots as your captain or your lieutenant, but you can kind of hand wave things. It's fine. Then for the crew, we need another 8. On the top right, there's P03, who is a hacker. It was a droid model, so just something that could, Actually, did I use it for shooting much? I'm not sure if I shot with it at all, actually. Technically, I can. We had Duncan, a sniper, and then the rest were basically all recruits. The reason I had them as recruits is because the models had pistols. So I was kind of going more for what made sense for the models, and obviously that they were free. So I paid for the hacker, I paid for Duncan, and did I give extra gear to Cassian? So he got light armor, he got some picks, and then I gave combat armor to make K2 super, super tough, and then he got a deck. So K2 is probably going to be better at hacking terminals, which makes sense to the droid. And then there's some lock picks for Cassian, making better at opening doors. The scenario is quite interesting. You have your central building in the middle, and basically it's divided into two. There are 2 entranceways into it, and you don't know which is the one you're looking for. So one will have some loot crates, and then the other has the actual target terminal that you're trying to get the data out of. In this, it should be a 12 by 12 in the middle. So each of those squares you can see on the ground are 3, I think. So it should have been 4 by 4 of that. Is that right? Maybe it's 2. So it's 2, yeah. So it would have been 3 by... So 6 by 6 of that. It's a chunky enough size in the middle. What I did with these 2 buildings was, rather than having a full 12 by 12, I partially had it, and rather than having a split room, had the 2 different buildings. So if you went to one and we then roll to see if that's the right one, we go into the other and roll to see if that's the right one. You place your what were they? The AI's enemy were scoundrels. So scoundrels have pistols. And then once you manage to find the terminal, there are a couple of, I think, pirates in there. So they're, again, wielding a bunch of pistols rather than the carbines that you would have with stormtroopers, but it makes sense for the game. And then we had to split the team up into groups of 2. So it had to be at least 5 groups. And we could roam around and do as much as we wanted without having the guards alerting or do anything, unless we managed to open a door to get into one of the areas, or we managed to, or if 2 of the groups got too close together. So obviously, if there's just 2 people, it's fine. But if there's 2 of those groups of 2 within 6 inches of each other, it sets the alarm. People are being sus. Did get some nice line of sights, and we have a couple of the stormtroopers up on buildings as well. These are the the Infinity. So Corvus Belly's old cardboard terrain, they've actually improved significantly. So they've got like multi-levels and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. And yeah, on one entranceway, I do have Cassian and K2 ready to go. And on the other entranceway, we've got this. Is it Celestian? It's just Rebel and Droid. Good to get going, so they can get in there. So I'm already in position for the doors. The mechanics of it are you can try blah blah your way in. So you can do a kind of a social roll to try to get in. If you've got the bribe ability, which I didn't take with Cassian, maybe I should have. You get a bonus roll into it. So basically, you're trying to convince them to let you in. If you do that, they'll open the door. The alarm will not get triggered immediately. The alarm will get triggered at the end. So here you can see at least part of the layout. So you can see there's stormtroopers top left, bottom right, bottom left, and then there are actually two at the top right. So there's kind of two in each of the different quadrants. We pop the doors. So we decided to just blow the doors. Cassian does have the lockpick, so that made it a lot easier, and that seemed to make sense. Now, when you do that, they get backup. So on each of the different corners, you get a new guy spawning in. So now we've suddenly got 4 extra guys all the way around. Time to get some action in. So we start moving some of our rebel operatives into position so we can get some shots off. And then we can see the troopers are doing the same. Got a nice line there, so you can see it's a nice bit of cover for my rebels, and then the stormtroopers are a little bit exposed at this point. Meanwhile, K2 enters the room. So this was the right room. It was a 50-50 chance. And yeah, now we are in. We have to get to that terminal. So these are 2 pirate. What were they called? Pirate somethings. So they do have carbines. They're a little bit more dangerous. And once we start getting in, we start to get some damage laid down. Now, initially, I had actually made a mistake, and I'm sure other people have made the same mistake. I've played at least one full game of Stargrave through making this mistake. With the combat, and which is the melee, and with the ranged, you roll D20 for each side, and then add your bonuses to see who wins. So if it's ranged, then obviously only the shooter can actually win. If the defender wins, then it's just a miss. What I was forgetting to do was after you've worked out who's won, you then ignore the defender's roll after that, or the loser's roll after that. And you then compare the roll against the target's armor. And that's how much damage you do. So what I had been doing was I'd roll like a combined 18, and then the defender would have rolled a combined 16. And then I'd be going, okay, so that's only 2 damage, and then I compare to the armor, and then the armor is 10, so it doesn't even go through, which in retrospect is ridiculous. What I should have been doing there is you've 18 beats 16, now ignore the 16, and then I get the 10 armor, so I'm doing 8 damage. All of a sudden this game gets a lot more deadly. So that was a mistake I was doing. So early on, till about this point, I think, there was a lot of incidental damage going down, and not many casualties. So here you can see the first casualty is from our sniper, taking out one of the troopers from behind. And these 2 pirates start to engage with K2 to try to get some action in. Keep firing with these guys. Now, one of the interesting things about this is the goal of this mission is to get the intel and then get out. So after turn 4, getting out gets you XP, I think. So any of your guys who manage to make it last for at least 3 turns on the 4th turn leave will get a chunk of XP, which is kind of cool. But as you can see, guys start to go down. The big but is these guys here are cheap. They're 0 cost. So I'm not necessarily too concerned if they die. I do want to make sure my hacker and my sniper survive, and obviously I want to make sure my captain and my lieutenant. So that is K2SO. One of the things he had was an ability to kind of switch through his stats. So I was able to switch him to melee and then it was only give him an extra 1, but it brought him up to a 4 melee, which made him a lot more dangerous in combat. And that meant when these pirates hit back, they were also taking a chunk of damage. Here we can see Cassian moving up, and he is interfacing with the console, and I think on the first attempt he didn't manage to. I think we have to wait another turn before he manages to actually access it. I brought in the droid just to try and give him some backup, just in case. This is going to be a Valiant Last Stand. As you can see, it is 6 essentially versus 1. Now, what maybe they should have done was made a run for it, but by sticking around a little bit longer and getting some shots in, they were actually able to distract these troopers. So these troopers were focused on this and not that door on the top left that you can see, at least for a little bit. Rebel operative down, another one on this side. So yeah, we've moved into the game being a little bit more lethal. As I was saying, I've started to play the game right, and we're starting to see people go down pretty fast. That's a repeat of that picture. Oops. Okay. More moving in, more shooting, more distracting. This basically we've managed to clear out, or the troopers have managed to clear out everything here and have started moving towards the objective. Cassian is still in there trying to get things out. They're getting lined up for shots, and this was when I moved the sniper, and we moved this operative over to start getting shots off. So basically to give Cassian a bit of cover. I also moved K2 up, and he's somewhat covering. So if the troopers move up, they'll be targeting him first. Another valiant attempt. So we're still getting some kills in. And then this on the other side. So this operative, again, is doing the same as K2SO, moving in position to try get some cover and get things going. And whites were always the troopers, so this was not a good roll. And this was my sniper going down. So one of the troopers took a shot up at where the top of the sniper was and took him down. So this is where we are. So you can see that Cassian has moved out and is making his way down. So I think this is the end of turn 4, I think. Yeah. So top left, we've got one guy left. He's facing off against 2 troopers. Smack in the middle, we've got one of the rebel operatives who's basically laying down some covering fire to give Cassian and K2 a chance to get out. And then at the bottom in the middle, we've got that sniper just down and one other operative. So Cassian then moves off the board. K2SO and the droid, and then the other operative jumps down those ladders and moves off. And then we have our final operative in the middle. Doesn't quite manage to get it off. A trooper comes out and eventually guns her down. Now, at the end of it all, and actually, yeah, this is perfect Cassian, right? Sacrificing tons of lives just to make sure the mission succeeds. And pretty ruthless. But this was it. So out of our full roster of 10, basically we've come out with only 5 remaining. Now, of the ones that did die, the only one that actually cost many credits was the sniper. So we're going to be able to replace all of those pretty fast, if I understand the rules right. And we could go into the next mission, with re-upping. Yeah, so I think we get a bunch. Actually, I have the book here. I'll just quickly flick through. What did we actually get? Because I played it out and then didn't pay attention to the last part. But we have successfully accessed. Those are actually. Oh, I missed a bit. There was a encounter codes area for more people turning up, but not to worry. Loot and experience. So 10 XP for each crew member that exit the table after turn 4. So that's 50, and then 100 XP for recovering and uploading files. If the crew recovered or uploaded computer data, they gain 300 and roll for other loot tokens as normal. Now, I didn't actually put any loot totals down, and that was my mistake, but we've got an extra 300 credits. And as I said, the only thing we'd actually spent anything on was that sniper. And the sniper, what was this? Victory book. Temporary crew members. The sniper was 100. So we're up to 100. Not a bad run at all. Okay, so if you enjoy this, please have a look at the Warcry version and see what you think about basically playing similar models, similar idea of a mission, but a very, very different system. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.